Yeah. जय हनुमान Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकथां मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च। श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गुप्ताकांत राधाकांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभांसुदेव प्रणमामि हरि प्रिये वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यः च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासुदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीन तारिणं परमानन्दं श्री चैतन्य ईश्वरम्। Okay, so it's 4:21. तथा मनुर्वो भगवान् पितामहो यमेकमत्या पुरुदक्षिणैर्मुखे इष्टाभिपेदे दुरवापम् अन्यतो भौमं सुखं दिव्यम् अथापवर्ग्यम् यश तथा मनुर्वो भगवान् पितामहो यमेकमत्या पुरुदक्षिणैर्मुखे इष्टाभिपेदे दुरवापमन्यतो भौमं सुखं दिव्यमथापवर्ग्यम् तथा similarly Manu Swayambhuva Manu Vah your Bhagavan worshipable Pitamaha grandfather Yam unto whom Ekamatya with unflinching devotion Puru great Dakshinai charity Makhai by executing sacrifices Ishtva worshipping Abhipede achieved Duravapam difficult to achieve Anyataha by any other means Bhaumam material Sukham happiness Divyam celestial Atha thereafter Apavargyam liberation. Translation purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Suniti informed her son, your grandfather Swayambhuva Manu executed great sacrifices with distribution of charity, and thereby, with unflinching faith and devotion, he worshipped and satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By acting in that way, he achieved the greatest success in material happiness and afterwards achieved liberation, which is impossible to obtain by worshipping the demigods. Purport by Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The success of one's life is measured by one's material happiness in this life and liberation in the next. Such success can be achieved only by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The words Ekamatya mean concentrating one's mind on the Lord without deviation. The process of undeviating worship of the Supreme Lord is also expressed in Bhagavad Gita as Ananya Bhak. That which is impossible to obtain from any other source is also mentioned here. Other source refers to worship of the demigods It is especially stressed here that the opulence of Manu was due to his undeviating faithfulness in the transcendental service of the Lord. One who diverts his mind to worshipping many demigods to obtain material happiness is considered bereft of intelligence. If anyone wants even material happiness, he can worship the Supreme Lord without deviation, and persons who are desirous of liberation can also worship the Supreme Lord and achieve their goal of life. Again, Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So I just want to read the last few verses, 2, 3 verses, just to kind of recap what is going on. My dear boy, whatever has been spoken by Suruchi, your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, is factual. Therefore, if you at all desire to sit on the same throne as your stepmother, Uttama, then give up your envious attitude and immediately try to execute the instructions of your stepmother. Without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Suniti continued, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is so great that simply by worshipping his lotus feet, your great grandfather Lord Brahma acquired the necessary qualifications to create this universe. Although he is unborn and is the chief of all living creatures, he is situated in that exalted post because of the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whom even great yogis worship by controlling the mind and regulating the life air, prana. Suniti informed her son, your grandfather Swambhu Manu executed great sacrifices with distribution of charity, and thereby with unflinching faith and devotion he worshipped and satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By acting in that way, he achieved the greatest success in material happiness and afterwards achieved liberation, which is impossible to obtain by worshipping the demigods. So this is incredible. So actually, Srila Prabhupada, when the first lecture Prabhupada gave, his Holiness Ramapad Maharaj was actually repeating one time. The first lecture Prabhupada actually gave in America. The first line of that lecture was Prabhupada said that I have not come to teach you anything new. I have simply come here to remind you what you have forgotten. So this is very profound statement. Every one of Srila Prabhupada's statement is very, very profound and of Srila Prabhupada's associates. So actually, it is it is very important to understand that we will not develop our love for Krishna directly. We will develop our love for Krishna through our love for the spiritual master and the love for the devotees. And love means becoming attracted to their attraction to Krishna. So when we can feel their attraction to Krishna, then actually we can through their attraction to Krishna, we can enter into our attraction to Krishna. And actually, as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we are not so much interested in becoming independently attracted or independently serving Krishna. But our Gaudiya Vaishnav mood is that we get more pleasure by uniting Krishna and Krishna's devotees. Um, Actually, that gives greater happiness than direct experience. So, the spiritual master's words have that power to actually help us to remember this point that we are in this material world because we rejected Krishna. And the only way for us to survive, the only way for us to become successful is by pleasing Krishna. There is no other way. And how we please Krishna, that is not a stereotype, or that's not a that cannot be. Although Srimad Bhagavatam, although our spiritual masters have given uh, the minimum, But how much we can please Krishna, or to what extent we have to go to please Krishna, that cannot be limited. So that is a case by case, circumstance by circumstance perspective, that each and every one of us, according to our own Krishna consciousness, will be able to perceive and understand. Um, I seek the blessings of everyone. I have no qualification to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, but hopefully by all of your association, I feel that I can grow in my Krishna consciousness. So, uh, although it may be very foreign to us, but actually the only reason for our existence in this material world is because we rejected Krishna. So, the last few verses, it's very, very important actually. Every verse is very powerful. So, every verse is very powerful, and this Dhruva Maharaj pastime is very, very powerful actually. That's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically wanted to hear the pastimes of Dhruva and Prahlad again and again. Actually, Prahlad Maharaj's teachings are also extraordinary, actually. It's really extraordinary. Because Prahlad Maharaj preached, if we actually read the verses, if we can, if we have the time to actually read the verses, it's extremely, extremely powerful. To, I mean, even to repeat those verses, if you repeat those verses, it's like extremely powerful. If you just repeat those verses in a common assembly, people will just run away. It's so powerful. And Prahlad Maharaj is preaching at such a young age to his friends. And as he's preaching, at every moment, he is running the risk of being killed because it's so powerful. And in such a negative environment and with such conviction, Prahlad Maharaj is preaching. And most astonishing thing is, after he preached, all his friends, they all, I mean, they all literally, they transformed. And the Shanda and Amarka, they became so concerned that he he transformed these few boys. They are not interested to accept our instructions anymore. So what will happen to the whole community if we don't do something? The whole community will become so Krishna conscious, and Hiranyakashipu will kill us. So very, very inspiring, very powerful. And Dhruva Maharaj pastime is so extraordinarily powerful because Dhruva Maharaj, although he had no help, and as we are going to see, that the instructions were very, very impractical for a young boy. And because of those very difficult conditions, but because of his extreme determination, actually, the only reason why Dhruva Maharaj is going to achieve perfection is because of his extreme determination. So His Holiness Gaurvani Maharaj says that when we have extreme determination in Krishna consciousness, all the obstacles on our path, they actually burst, they're evaporated. So very, very powerful. And another very wonderful lesson from this pastime is how Dhruva Maharaj executed the instructions of Narad Muni as it is. Actually, this is speaking for myself, that Prabhupada's instructions, if we really see the example of great devotees of the Lord, great disciples of Srila Prabhupada, who attain success in their Krishna consciousness, it is just because they follow Srila Prabhupada's instructions as it is. And I quoted this example before also. This is from a, you know, uh, not a quote unquote devotee. He was, mentioning how that this is one of the disciples of Srila Prabhupada, that Prabhupada disciple is working, is not wearing tilak, is not engaged in devotional activity, but this non-devotee could actually hear the holy name, which the vibration of the holy name, you can say, coming from this person. And he didn't know it was the holy name. And then later he confessed that I'm hearing this. And then, yeah, the devotee confirmed, yeah, actually, this goes on constantly. So, this is the power of Prabhupada's process, that even one may not be a quote unquote temple devotee, but if someone follows the instructions of Guru as it is without twisting or adding anything, that is the power. It's a very, very powerful process that Srila Prabhupada has given us. So, yeah, in verse 19, this is actually the instruction to my mind. When I was reading this, I was just thinking, it's a wonderful instruction to my mind. Whatever has been spoken by your stepmother, although very harsh to hear, is factual. So this is very powerful line from Bhagavatam. That many times that when things happen in real life, whatever it may be, first of all we have to accept that it is factual. It means that yes, I deserve it. I deserve it. And then the next thing is, after accepting that whatever I'm experiencing is what I deserve, then the next step is to cultivate, to give up the envious attitude. Yeah, to give up the envious. What is the cause of envy? The root cause of envy is the envy towards Krishna, envy towards Krishna's enjoyment. And the solution to overcoming that envy, because the envy towards Krishna is what is spreading to all other living entities. So as soon as we, as soon as that envious nature or that nature to find fault in others comes, then the best medicine is to immediately try to instruct, to execute the instructions of Guru and Krishna. So as soon as we become very enthusiastic to execute the orders of Guru and Krishna and the authorities, like His Holiness Ramnath Maharaj said, it's very inspiring. He said that if we become very eager to hear and chant the glories of the Lord, then Krishna will get rid of our impurities for us. So the secret is to become very eager to hear and chant. But then Maharaj said, but then we always think we are so busy. And because we neglect hearing and chanting, whether it may be in the guise of service or whatever it may be, then we become external. We become external, and when we become external, then naturally we want external happiness, external results, external, and then even though we may get or we may not get, we don't become happy. We don't become happy. So, yeah, this is without further delay, you must engage yourself in worshipping the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, without further delay. So, more and more we can develop this urgency to hear and chant the glories of the Lord, because hearing and chanting is what actually brings out the service attitude. And the service attitude is what we want to offer to Krishna. So, without the service attitude, the service actually has very little significance to Krishna, because the ultimate goal is samsiddhir haritoshanam. His Rispada said yesterday very nicely that working very hard, but if we don't please Krishna, which means that if we work in such a way that causes a disturbance to others, or we work in such a way that we have an independent mentality without consulting the senior devotees and authorities, then it will not give Krishna happiness. Actually, that's a very important point, actually. That yes, there are many devotees who have attained perfection, and there are many great devotees also. But what is the special privilege of ISKCON? Special privilege of ISKCON is, or the special duty of every devotee in ISKCON is to facilitate others to make progress. So how do we facilitate others to make progress? It's not that um, we have to go and give everyone instructions, or we don't have to correct everyone. But two things. The first thing is that we have to have this mood of sacrificing for others' spiritual progress. If I can do something to help someone progress in their devotional service, that we should have that deep desire. And second is we should be their well wisher, which means that we should have a desire that let them make progress, let them, because the moment we develop this desire that others should make progress in bhakti, then envy is gone. So the root cause of envy is being envious of Krishna. But on the spiritual platform, when we pray, when we desire others to make progress in bhakti, then already material things are become irrelevant, because the soul wants, this is the nature of uh, even the mind. The higher and higher taste you give to the mind will give up the lower taste. And actually, on the conditional platform, on in the conditioned stage, compassion or giving, making others happy is actually very, very fulfilling to the mind. That's why preaching is very much promoted. So when we have that mood, then we empower ourselves, we help ourselves to make progress. When we can see how others are making so much progress in bhakti, and when we desire that, yes, let them make more and more progress in bhakti. So then mind becomes pacified. So actually, the main problem in this age is actually um, Kali. Kali is the main problem. Maya is also there, but more powerful or more dangerous is actually Kali, because Kali causes conflict among devotees, and conflict among devotees creates Vaishnava aparadh. Maya may attack us in so many ways based on our previous conditioning, but if we are under the internal energy, which means if we are under the protection of devotees, then we can overcome Maya. So this is a wonderful padati or a wonderful sutra to come out of the attack of Kali. Is for myself that whenever we go through difficult situations, provoking situations, if we accept those situations simply as a result of our envy towards Krishna, I am going through this difficulty, whatever difficulty it may be, this dissension or this disturbance or this argument with this devotee. Why? Because ultimately the modes of material nature which are acting on me, they are coming back to me, because I have certain modes of material nature acting. That's why I'm having this quarrel or this disagreement with this devotee. And what is the root cause of modes of material nature acting on me? It is my aversion to Krishna. But if I take shelter of Krishna and pray to Krishna, actually that's why praying to Krishna is very, very extremely important. So we can pray, the more and more we pray to Krishna uh, to overcome these difficulties, the more and more we experience Krishna's protection, and we experience how Krishna actually changes the situation for us and makes it more and more conducive for us to remember Him and to serve Him. So when we give up this envious nature by blaming this person or blaming that person, and just try to execute the instructions of Guru and Krishna without further delay, then we experience success in Krishna consciousness. The next verse, verse 20, says how just by worshipping the lotus feet of Krishna, Lord Brahma acquired the qualification to create this universe. Creating this universe is a very difficult job. Forget about creating the universe, just to manage a festival also, to manage all the details of the festival, it's not easy. I mean, if you write down all the details, like at least 100 details you will come across. So if we make mistake in one of the details, that's okay. But if Brahma makes a mistake in creating, that can create havoc actually. So that's how careful Brahma had to be. So Krishna gave him the mercy to create the intelligence. So if Brahma can gain that kind of intelligence, I'm sure that it doesn't take that much intelligence to perform our day-to-day activities in bhakti. So if Brahma can get that kind of mercy from Krishna to um, to create this universe, then how is it not possible that Krishna will not bestow his mercy upon us when we beg for his mercy to surrender to him? Because this desire to actually become his pure devotee, it's not just our desire, but Krishna wants that more than us. Krishna is eager for that more than us. So actually yesterday that pastime this Balaji said, it was very touching to my heart. Forgot the name of that rishi. So that rishi was cursed by Vasishta, and and he just accepted the curse, and he went to the forest, he worshipped the Lord, and he attained uh, the spiritual world. So I was thinking, this is a perfect sutra, perfect um, pastime for all the devotees to meditate. That um, if we simply accept whatever comes in our life, and as much as possible try to withdraw our mind from that and just focus on the eternal, focus on our eternal goal, mm, then definitely we will make progress in bhakti. Because progress in bhakti is the only solution to all of our problems. It is a real, it's a practical solution. It's a very practical, it's not theoretical, it's very practical solution. We have seen our acharyas, so many of our acharyas, that how much, I mean, this is little um, extreme example, but at the same time, it's very instructive also. Gaurkishodas Babaji Maharaj, one time he was chanting somewhere in Mayapur. Some kids came, some children came, they started beating with a stick or throwing stones on him. So naturally, what a common person will do, he will defend, he will do this, he will do that. But this is the level of Gaur Kishore Babaji Maharaj. We know he's an eternal associate of Radharani, and he's, you know, so many, he's an extraordinary personality. So what Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj said is that Krishna, started speaking to Krishna, Krishna, if you don't stop this, I'm going to complain to Mother Yashoda. So of course we cannot imitate this. It's a very high level of devotion. But to see Krishna as the cause of everything, not to blame Krishna, but to see Krishna behind everything. This is not my realization, it's not, but this is our previous acharyas teaching us. So if we have this mentality and if we're deeply convinced that the only problem, whatever problem, the root cause of all problems that we may be facing, whether anarthas or disagreements, is simply that I have not become a pure devotee. That's it. Just the fact that I'm not a pure devotee, that is the real problem. That is the problem. So in the heart of heart, when we accept that because I don't have love for Krishna, I'm not a pure devotee of Krishna, that is a problem. Then instead of blaming this person or that person, when we recognize that problem and when we try to increase our surrender to Krishna, um, our service to Krishna more and more, then Krishna become very pleased with us. The solution to overcoming the temporary problems is to focus on the internal, I mean the eternal, sorry, the eternal problems. I mean the bigger problem. And what is the mood to focus on that problem? Tattenukampam susavikshmano bhunjana evapna kritam vipakam hridvag vapurbir vidadan namaste jivetvayo mukti pade sadaya bak. So this is very important verse because, yeah, just read the translation. My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow his causes mercy upon him. So he is waiting, he is eagerly waiting. all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering you respectful obeisances with his heart, words, and body is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. So, one who eagerly waits for your mercy, at the same time, he is suffering the reactions of his previous activities. Patiently suffering, and not only suffering, but offering you respectful obeisances with heart, words, and body. So, what is the best way to offer respectful obeisances? Is to enthusiastically engage in bhakti. To engage in bhakti. More and more we can enthusiastically engage in bhakti, then we can patiently tolerate the reactions. And at the same time, earnestly waiting, eagerly waiting for causeless mercy. So, which means, coming back to today's verse, which is very wonderful, that with great unflinching faith and devotion. So, this is very important. According to our faith, we will attain our reality. So, according to the faith, whatever faith we have in whatever principle of bhakti, we will attain that kind of realization. So, if we have full faith in the holy name, that this holy name can give me deeper and deeper realizations in bhakti, then what will happen? We will become attracted, we will become exposed to devotees who have that similar kind of faith. And we'll be exposed to acharyas who have that similar kind of faith. And by their mercy, by their association, this is very important point. So when we associate with the faith of pure devotees, and then when we imbibe that faith, that oh, Haridas Thakur, he put faith in the holy name, 100% faith in the holy name. So why don't I also put faith in the holy name? Now, I'm not saying to imitate his activities, but what I'm talking about is the faith. Faith is a very subtle thing. Nobody can see, nobody can measure it, but it's very personal, it's very individual. So if we have that kind of faith, then naturally we get reciprocation. We may not get reciprocation at Japa, we may not get reciprocation today, but someday we will get reciprocation because that is Krishna's promise. Ye tham mam prapadyate, tam sateva bhajamyaham. So when we have an experience that deepens our faith, even for a moment, if we see, Radha Govinda Vallabh and we become attracted to them, that deepens our faith that this is not marble, this is actually the Supreme Lord. When we see like Ganesha Prabhu dancing and we experience something in our heart, not just mechanical, we experience that wow, he has so much attraction to Krishna, he has so much, you feel that, you genuinely feel, then what happens is that leaves impression on the heart, and that impression is the only medicine, the only way to overcome lethargy, only way to overcome complacency. So this is a very powerful process actually. Mm, is this hearing process actually. We all glorify Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada is so dear to Saraswati Thakur because of his intense desire to hear. And what is the most important thing uh, behind hearing the glories of the Lord? The most important thing behind hearing the glories of the Lord is actually faith in the person who is speaking. So we have to have faith in the person who is speaking, and that's why we have to hear regularly from that person, and we have to try to execute instructions of that person. The more and more and more we can do that, the more and more we can make quick progress in bhakti. And you'll see actually, if you become like very much interested in hearing the glories of the Lord, then from so many places you will get instructions, you will get reciprocations, you will get so many answers, even without you asking, you will get that thing. And ultimately, most important thing is actually to be convinced that our eternal occupation is to participate in the pastimes of Krishna. Although this is very high, but unless we're convinced of this reality, unless we want to enter this reality in our spiritual life, we cannot tolerate. We cannot overcome all the obstacles. That is very, very important actually. That's why hearing the pastimes is very important. Because when we hear the pastimes, we see liberated, eternal Nitya Siddhas, um, eternally liberated Nitya Siddhas, how they act in their devotion towards the Lord, their spontaneous devotion. And the more and more we hear, we feel like, yeah, we, this is where we need to be. Although we may be very, very far, but this is where we need to be. And we become attracted also to the acharyas, how the acharyas lived, how the acharyas performed their devotional service, and how we also want to follow in their footsteps according to what Srila Prabhupada has told us, according to what Srila Prabhupada has guided us. If you see in Prabhupada's life is basically a combination, or you can say he has taken the essence from all of our acharyas, and he has taken the moods of all of our acharyas, and he has given a shape and a form to those moods in the form of our Krishna conscious activities in this ISKCON movement. So more and more we can associate with the activities of the Lord. Whether Gaur Leela, Krishna Leela, or even the pastimes of our acharyas, even the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada, very, very powerful. More and more we can associate and we can accept. The more we hear, we accept, yeah, this is a reality. This is the reality I should be part of. Like if you hear again and again Prabhupada's instruction about how we should chant, how we should serve, then you become accustomed or you accept the reality that I should be living like this. I should be chanting like this. I should be serving like this. So then you make all endeavor, you make sacrifices, great sacrifice to whatever extent to attain that reality. That's what bhakti is. And as soon as you attain that internal reality in Krishna consciousness, then externally everything becomes very easy. Because the mind, however contaminated the mind may be, but the reality experienced in the mind is the reality which we perceive outside. Regardless of what actually happens, our experience of what happens depends on how we condition the mind. And Prabhupada says that we have to constantly withdraw the mind from material objects and fix the mind on Krishna conscious activities, on Krishna conscious tadiya, those things are related to Krishna. So the more and more we do this by Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna's qualities, Krishna's pastimes, the more and more we do this, the more and more the reality outside us, our experience will change. And the more it changes, naturally, we can give that reality to others also, according to our specific experience. Um, so, in the purport, ekamatya, concentrating one's mind on the Lord without deviation. Of course, this is Prabhupada's consciousness very high, but Prabhupada always gives how we can achieve. So the next line Prabhupada says, undeviating worship of the Supreme Lord. And then Prabhupada gives the key is that which is impossible to obtain from any other source. So we have to be convinced that our solution to our suffering in this world can only be solved by Krishna and specifically Krishna's pure devotee. Only they have the ability to solve, because the problem is that we are not experiencing that love of Krishna. That is our problem. I mean, that is a problem of conditioned soul, that the soul is separated from Krishna. And the only solution to that will be when we get reciprocation from Krishna or Krishna's pure devotees. So nothing in this world is going to satisfy. So we have to be deeply convinced. If we are deeply convinced that nothing else can satisfy me, no other source can satisfy me, then we can concentrate the mind more and more on Krishna. Yeah. And then Prabhupada says, undeviating faith. Manu was undeviatingly faithful in the transcendental service of the Lord. So, yeah, when we're serving the Lord, very important. First thing is we have to depend. From the very beginning of our Krishna consciousness, we can cultivate the mentality that I want to please. Then that's very purifying. So, first is we have to depend. And the next thing is we should try to render to whatever extent we can loving service. Loving service means everything, everything. Whatever the details of the service, because actually small things make a big difference. It may not make a big difference externally, it may not make a big difference in others' eyes, but it makes a big difference in the mood. The mood, to develop pure mood, if you serve very scrutinizingly, very carefully, that Krishna reciprocates to that offering, the painstaking offering to bring pure mood in the heart. And the third thing is we should not ask for anything material from the Lord. Yes, sometimes if there are very, very dire circumstances, we're going to leave our body or something like that, that's different. Or something which is very, very difficult to do. But otherwise, if situation is not very dangerous or very dire circumstances, we don't need to ask for anything material. So if we follow these three things, definitely we can very quickly come to the point of surrendering to the Lord. May not be full surrender, but even to whatever extent we are surrendering, that surrender will help us to surrender more and more and more. And this surrender is very powerful. This surrender is the most powerful way of connecting with, especially spiritual master and the acharyas. When we have this mood of surrender, which means we have no desire, we are not trying to cultivate separate desire, we're not trying to ask anything material, then the mood of the acharyas become reflected in our heart. Like we feel connection from the acharyas. Prabhupada writes in a purport to Bhagavad Gita that great devotees who are constantly engaged in the worship of the Lord, they receive messages. They receive messages from the realized devotees of the Lord, which means the acharyas actually reveal, they imprint the heart of fully surrendered souls with their mood. So when you can experience the mood of acharyas in their devotion to Krishna, that's very, very powerful. Yes, holy places are very powerful, but most powerful thing in the holy place is actually the samadhi of the previous acharyas. And we don't even have to go to the holy place to go. Within the mind, we can go to the samadhi of the acharyas and pray to them and pray that their moods of devotion can enter our heart. And when we pray like that, and if we receive some reciprocation, that is very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. So the only thing to overcome all obstacles in bhakti is actually when we become deeply attracted to attaining the same goal that our acharyas have attained. So to feel the same way that our acharyas feel, like when we see the Prabhupada chanting or Prabhupada singing, Prabhupada speaking, if we are so fortunate, if we can feel how exalted is Prabhupada's consciousness and how exalted is the consciousness of our spiritual masters, we're like, yeah, I wish I could experience that too. When will the day come that I will experience that? And that eagerness, that when, oh when will that day come when I can experience, when I can pray like that, when I can have a connection like that with the Lord, then that eagerness is the only way we can overcome all the obstacles in our conditioning. So yeah, this is very important pastime for all devotees, for all sadhakas. This pastime Dhruva Maharaj, that how mm, this determination is very important. And determination is also not something that comes overnight. It comes over a period of time. What is determination? Determination is expressing our attraction to the goal through activity. Like for example, my determination to get very good grades in school, that becomes expressed through working very hard, etc., etc. So in bhakti, our determination to attain Krishna will be demonstrated through our activities, of course, and the depth of the consciousness behind those activities. But in order for us to even aspire for that kind of goal, will only come through association. So unless we associate very scrutinizingly, very painstakingly, very carefully with pure devotees of the Lord over a period of time, we will not be able to develop the determination. So we have to be very careful with extremely careful about avoiding those things which are not good. And Krishna will reveal to us, like it's not that someone has to come and tell. Krishna will reveal to us if we are very sincere. Ultimately, everything is based on our desire, based on what we want. And speaking for myself, if I want to be cheated, yeah, there is numerous opportunities to be cheated. But if I want real thing, as soon as I immediately want the real thing, immediately Krishna. This is the example actually. Dhruva, Krishna gave special mercy that Krishna gave that attraction. Dhruva got that attraction that yes, by serving Krishna, definitely all my problems will be destroyed. Dhruva, somewhere he got that conviction, somewhere he got that. And that is the reason why Dhruva pursued it. Because he, somewhere in his heart became attracted. Yes, Krishna can give this to me. So that conviction is the only thing which is required. If we are convinced in our heart that Krishna can solve, pure devotees can solve our authorities by serving them, yes, it will solve our problems. That is the only thing which is required. And nothing, no obstacle can stand in the way. So through the mercy, if we become very inspired to follow what Prabhupada has given to us, then Prabhupada says success is guaranteed. Prabhupada says the moment we think that we want to attain love for Krishna, that moment itself is guaranteed we will attain love for Krishna. And Prabhupada says in this life. So you see in many purports in the future, you will see that how Prabhupada is saying again and again that how we should attain success, we should attain love for Krishna in this life, not in any other life, but in this life we should attain love for Krishna. So yeah, it's very powerful pastime actually, very powerful pastime, and we can pray to Dhruva Maharaj that we can develop that kind of determination, can develop that kind of enthusiasm to, because why do we want to attain love for Krishna? So that we can serve Krishna better. Krishna can actually derive some happiness from our service. That's the purpose. And the sooner we attain, the better for us, the better for Krishna also. Although Krishna has innumerable associates rendering him such loving service, but Krishna wants us also. Radharani wants us also. Our acharyas want us also. So yeah, we can become extremely eager to do that thing. And yeah, our Srila Prabhupada has, through his instruction, through his pastimes, Prabhupada has very wonderfully set the standard. And one last thing I want to say about devotee, mm, how we treat the devotees. That there's a verse in Bhagavatam that says that one should treat others as he would treat himself. So we can always remember this in bhakti when we associate the devotees. That actually, speaking for myself, we should treat others better than if we treat ourselves. Like basically, suppose example, even if sometimes prasad is less, he will always give others. He will always put others um, at a higher position than himself. So that is the ideal. But at least we start with this, that we treat others the way we want to treat ourselves. That if we speak agitating words to others, how we'll feel if others speak agitating words to us, right? If we're doing something very important, suddenly someone speaks something agitating, it disturbs our whole consciousness, ruins our whole mood for the next 2, 3 hours, how we'll feel. So, I mean, I speak many agitating words myself, but I pray that I can create an environment so that others can feel comfortable to satisfy Guru and Krishna. So I end here. Anyone has any question or comment? Like we have to get it back to the attraction of that. Mm. Mm. Anyone have a question or comment? To control our mind and divert our mind from the external, focus on the internal, the real external problem. That is really helps. Mm. Yeah, one point is that we can have the depth in the consciousness. The activities we do for Krishna, and, I'm just contemplating how much depth I have. Am I doing it to show it to the external level, or to satisfy the senses of Krishna? What is the depth in it? Mm. Yeah, and depth is also very difficult to actually to cultivate, but better practical thing is hearing, always hearing and chanting, like even during service, as much as possible. Mm. So that is the thing. Because as for myself, the conscience always wants to become external. Conscience always wants to go towards Maya. So hearing and chanting actually brings the conscience back that no, like no, the goal is not to go into Maya, which means to forget Krishna. So the mind always, myself, likes to forget Krishna. So unless hear from pure devotees, mind will never listen. So that's a great privilege we have also. And one more thing, I never thought in that way. Like whatever the service you do, it is better for you. Everybody is better for you. And when you said it is better for Krishna, and I thought, yeah, he is waiting for me. He is not better for him. Like I felt in the other way. I'm not just doing it for myself. I'm doing it for Krishna. The other way, I think it's a good thought. The other way also. Yeah, just like a very simple example that like your child or someone who is serving if they understand your mood, how much more happy you feel, right, in that exchange. So in same way, the more and more we come closer to what Krishna wants, how much more happy um, Krishna will feel actually when we accept. I mean, when he accepts our service. That's the amazing thing about pure devotees. Everything they do is very dear to Krishna. Every single thing. They're walking, they're talking, everything is so, everything Krishna relishes. So that's very exciting. With every moment, it's not that only when they sit on Vyasas and only if they always have that reciprocation with Krishna. So many wonderful, wonderful ways. So, would you like to, anyone online has any question or comment?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Very nice class, Prabhu. Prabhu, one question here.
Yeah.
Uh, these words have very power, right? So
Mm.
there are two mothers. One mother is talking harsh words
Mm.
to kid. Other mother gives like solace. But
Yeah.
the biggest problem is the father. He remained the silent, right? He would have spoken and corrected. So he remained the silent. So uh, these words create a havoc, right? Words are the very powerful, so it hurt person badly. So, but at the same time, the sometime like we have to speak when the wrong thing is going on, and if we remain the silent. So,
Yeah.
what are the thoughts? Your thoughts of the words? How these bad words comes. So, does that mean that she had a more power or she had a pride? So maybe.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah, when wrong things happen, we have to speak rudely, and words are very powerful. But what my experience is that more than what we speak is, first thing is we have to pray actually. We have to pray that should I speak or should I not speak? And we'll get some idea because we're connected to Guru Parampara, we'll get some idea whether it's the correct time to speak or not. And we should have a serious desire, especially when it speaks about correcting, should have a serious desire to actually benefit the other person and transform the other person and make that person more dear to Buddha and Krishna. So yeah, we have to choose and we have to pray. And speaking for myself, if my conscience is not good, even though what I speak may be correct, may be absolutely correct, but it can agitate another person's mind. So yeah, actually, I'm not good at this, but when you start speaking, you immediately see the atmosphere is becoming heavy. It means that the connection with that person is getting disrupted. And then when the connection gets disrupted, that person will not hear. You can feel actually, like all of us have experiences when we have a good conversation, how we feel. We feel so connected to the other person. We feel very comfortable. And we have a heavy conversation, we don't feel connected. So then across that connection to transmit the message become very difficult. Because even if that person may hear intellectually, but in the heart, they cannot accept it. So yeah, I think that's very, very important. And yeah, so yeah, we have to choose our words carefully. And yeah, the best thing is that to only speak to people who are willing to hear us, who are interested to hear. It's very, very simple. And yeah, like according to the relationship, accordingly we have to behave. If the relationship is intimate, we can speak certain intimate things. If it's not, we cannot. So mm, yeah, we have to behave very accordingly. But for us, this is for how we deal with others. But for us, however people may speak to us, I mean, I pray I beg the blessing of the devotees so that I can apply. But if you can apply this principle that just accept everything that happens simply as mercy of Krishna. That does not mean we blame Krishna or we neglect our duties, but we accept it as arrangement for Krishna, for our Krishna consciousness, our progress in Krishna consciousness. Then that's very beneficial for us. So if we pray to Krishna regularly, that I want to make advancement, I want to make advancement, and then we see these things as things which help us in our advancement, then yeah, then that's very good for us. And that means we can survive in any situation. And that's a very wonderful training for us also in the future, that we can survive in any situation. We don't need anything to survive. That is the best actually. Like Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says, don't accept anything from anyone. Just completely dependent on Krishna. And Kaviraj Goswami says, if you simply don't expect anything from anyone, you don't accept anything, you just simply completely depend on Krishna and you chant the holy name, then that makes our devotional service very, very solid, very powerful. So that does not mean that we should not take any service from anyone. That does not mean that we should. But yeah, it's the mood of our acharyas. So yeah, but correction is important. But yeah, to see time, place, circumstance. Sometimes to say one thing, it may take. I mean, of course, it's an immediate thing we have to say. But if it's a like serious behavioral thing or something, it may take months. It may take months of prayers. It may take months of sadhana. It may take so much blessings behind saying that if you really want to change that person. That's what pure devotees do. They say one line here and there, but there's a lot of depth, a lot of empowerment, a lot of prayer, a lot of mm, feeling behind that, and that's why that transforms the heart. So that's what we can speak a lot of lines, may not have effect, or we can speak one line with a lot of profound depth, and that can actually transform the heart.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, nobody has any question or comment. It's very late. Jad Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Vancha kalpataru Kripā Sindhu bheva